Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Formula One 2021 Driver Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Today, we have race number 2 of the season and our F1 career on the way in the Spanish Grand Prix. Excited for this one. We had a pretty solid debut in Bahrain against our teammate of Mick Schumacher. We beat him. We beat Williams of Russell as well as Latifi. So hopes were pretty high coming into this one. We've also got some more R&D upgrades underway right now. So hopefully this team will be even better here in the future. But we come through into practice now, and I was actually struggling quite a bit. I had very high confidence coming into this episode for the Spanish GP because in past F1 games spanning all the way back to Formula One 2011, I've always had a lot of confidence and a lot of speed at this track in league racing, career mode, and whatnot. But I don't know what it was, but for this specific game, this specific weekend here in Spain, I just couldn't find comfort in the car, and you're going to see that in practice. I was the slowest, and I was almost like 3 seconds behind my teammate of Mick Schumacher. So all of a sudden, I went from being very confident, excited, to very concerned very quick. And I spent a good probably 25-30 minutes just trying to find setups or tweak some setups to kind of fit my driving style more, but nothing was really working. And what I was finding was I was really solid in Sector 1 as well as Sector 2, but in Sector 3, I was losing absolutely everything. And same thing in Practice 3. I got closer to Schumacher, less than a second between us two, but it just still wasn't working. And a majority of that time I was losing to him, and everybody was in that third and final sector on the track. So that was concerning. So we jumped through, though, into qualifying, and I made actually a few more tweaks, just hoping something is going to work. But of course, as soon as we hit the track in qualifying, Parc Fermé becomes a thing. So we need to be really confident in the setup. Of course, we can make a very minor wing adjustment on the car after Parc Fermé comes into effect. So this is my first qualifying attempt here in Q1. In Bahrain, we had a decent qualifying attempt. We were, of course, at the back. We're the worst car on the grid with Haas, so it's not like I'm expecting to go out and run 13th, 14th every race right now. No, I'm expecting to be 16th and 20th between there for the majority of that, at least the first quarter of the season. But still, we were just so far off, and we come through to set our first lap on the Q1 session, and I was a second and a half off of, I think that was Mick Schumacher, who was running very strong in P16, even beating Antonio Giovinazzi there in the Alfa Romeo. So I actually made a second lap. I just wanted to commit to see how close I could get to Schumacher here. I definitely abused the track limits a little bit. You kind of saw me right there a few corners earlier, but in Sector 3, once again, I just couldn't gain time. I just don't know what it was with Sector 3 today, but I got a little bit closer. We were now only 1 second behind Mick Schumacher. So I look at the timing there, and I'm just like, oh my god, we're in so much trouble right here going into our second weekend of Formula One racing. So I make a front wing aero adjustment here, and we actually go up to 10 instead of 8, and I was just really hoping that was going to help. And we jump through into my next attempt, and this is the final shot I get at qualifying. And our first lap, we were half a second quicker, and that actually put us ahead of Latifi. But I decided to run one more lap, and we got to about another tenth, almost 2 tenths here in this final sector now. So things were looking good, but right at the end here in the last few corners, the time kind of fell off a little bit right there, and now less than a tenth above our fastest time. But nonetheless, we found something at least, and we got within half a second of Schumacher and beat Latifi for the time being. But when the field would cross the line after I had come to the garage, Latifi actually beat me by 3 tenths of a second, and we were still half a second off of Schumacher. So we qualify dead last for the Spain GP. We're in for a bit of a reality check after a strong first debut in Bahrain. So let's go into the Grand Prix here from Spain.
Welcome along then to what promises to be another fascinating Spanish Grand Prix, a race which saw Max Verstappen win on his first ever appearance with the Red Bull team in 2016. This after the dramatic coming together of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg on the first lap. Will we see more moments for the scrapbook here today? It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 of this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Perez, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel and Pierre Gasly, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon, Raikkonen, Russell, Mick Schumacher and Antonio Giovinazzi, Latifi and the rookie. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Well, there you have it from Crompty as well as Anthony Davidson getting ready to take the green flag here from the Spanish GP from the very back of the grid. Not where we want to be. I mean, of course, I didn't expect to do anything better than like 16th, but it would have been nice to just be a few spots better, not be the slowest guy here. But we get this formation lap going now, so the hope is just get these tires warmed up and ready to go for the start, and the brakes, of course, needed to be really heated up here now as we would get this formation lap underway. So concerns were high coming into this one just simply because of the lack of pace, and I'm hopeful though that we can find something in the race because we did definitely found something right at the end there of Q1. So it's not the end of the world here getting ready to go green lights in Spain, but it's definitely going to be probably a hard challenge for us here today. And like I said, I think we're in for a bit of a reality check based off of what happened there in practice as well as qualifying as we get to the grid down in the last spot here in P20 starting on the medium tire. It is now 5 red lights here from Spain in this light zone and we are underway. We got Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas up front. It's Bottas on pole, Hamilton there in second place, and it's a great launch there for Valtteri Bottas down into turns 1 by Hamilton's going to sneak back up the inside there, and sure enough, through turns 1 and to a commanding charge from Lewis Hamilton and to the lead just about. They're still going to be side by side between the Mercedes duo, and Bottas is going to come out actually in front of Hamilton and clear down into the next corner. So there was a commanding charge right there from Lewis Hamilton. Wasn't enough. Max Verstappen there in P3 as you see Perez battle it out with Lando Norris there in that McLaren. Daniel Ricciardo just behind there. You see Lance Stroll 3 wide there with the Alpine as well as AlphaTauri. Now couldn't quite make out who that was in those two cars. Now as we go back to where we are, we actually were able to make a pass on Nicholas Latifi in the Williams. So we went from P20 now up to 1 spot in P19 as you see Giovinazzi there just up ahead of us in that 18th spot. A bit of a rough start for him. Decent start for Schumacher. He remains in P17. Kimi Räikkönen now down to P15 or 16, sorry. Now as I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to lunge up the inside or not right there, but I'm going to show you guys the pass I made here on Nicholas Latifi because you guys didn't quite get to see it. So this was just a little bit before on lap 1 right here. I just lunge up the left hand side. It gives us the space and we cleanly make that pass and move up now into 19th place. So I was pretty confident in the car here, at least in the first opening lap. Now as we came to complete this first and opening lap and running down Antonio Giovinazzi, overtake mode on there as we went down into turns 1. Schumacher just a few car lengths in front of him. And we might just be really starting to get into a rhythm, but then Jeff would come over the radio and deliver some news that we do not want to hear on lap 2.
Don't panic just yet, but we've seen a problem at our end. We're looking into it.
Some type of issue that the team is looking into. Of course, the concerns building right off the bat. We're only on the second lap. We do have mechanical faults turned on and on standard and like high, so that allows the faults to happen. And then Jeff has some more news for us.
We can confirm that it's an issue with our engine.
There you have it. Can confirm it is an issue for the engine. I would immediately feel the effects of this issue down this straightaway right here, this DRS straight. Of course, DRS not enabled yet, but the speed was way off. Latifi would actually get right back to me, and all of a sudden on the front straightaway, you would really see the issue. So I put it into overtake on ERS, and that has absolutely nothing. Latifi just blows on by, and I can't even get to 190 miles per hour all of a sudden. So this car was just unbelievably slow. So I was concerned that the engine was about to give out or something, but to my surprise, the issue would get fixed very quickly. By the time we came to lap 4, we were right back to normal. So the team never came over the radio. Jeff never said anything that they got it fixed, but it was definitely fixed within a lap. So we were right back into it. So it was a bit of a concerning start to this race, but now we get the go-ahead to go fight Latifi back down. But I was very frustrated because you see how much time we had lost after all of that, dealing with that situation. We were now almost 5 seconds behind Kimi Räikkönen, and as we came through to lap 6 now, over 5 seconds behind Räikkönen. Once again, sector 1 and 2, I was holding my own against everybody, but sector 3, again, I was having the same issue. I kept on losing time, and I could not just make any passes on a guy like Nicholas Latifi, because all the time I would gain on him in sector 1 and 2 would all get lost in sector 3. So I basically got into this repetitive process of, in sector 1 and 2, gain a bunch of time on Latifi, sector 3, lose it all, and then the next lap spend sector 1 and 2, regaining it all back, and then losing it again in sector 3. So this was becoming a very annoying pattern now, as you actually see Daniel Ricciardo coming out of the pit lane there in the McLaren. He DNF'd in the last episode. He had a couple issues. He brought out a safety car early after going wide, and then he DNF'd with a mechanical failure. So I let Daniel go as soon as he got to me. Of course, a lot more speed in that McLaren, but I'm right here through sector 3, have absolutely nothing. We just continuously get to Latifi and then lose all that ground here in this third and final sector. It was unbelievably frustrating here, and we were only 7 laps in at this point. But now to lap 8, you see some more pit stops happening there. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari coming out of his pit box. Sebastian Vettel, my favorite driver there in the Aston Martin, coming out as well. Lando Norris had just come out of his pit box now, as I'm getting a potential strategy change right there. As all of a sudden, we're right to the back of Nicholas Latifi, who kind of got stuck right there behind the McLaren of Norris. But now Leclerc, he is right behind myself, and I don't want to be in the way of those guys. So now down the straightaway, we have a chance right here to get Latifi. So I actually decided to take it instead of let Leclerc through, because we got to go for any chance we can. And a bit of a grip loss right there. We actually make some contact with the right rear wheel of Latifi. We get a warning for that collision with Latifi. They were not very happy about that. Now, of course, I was not very happy either, because I'm trying to complete the pass, and I took the first opportunity I finally got, and I made a big mistake right there. If I could have just got the power down without any issues, who knows what could have happened. But up ahead into turns 1, Yuki Tsunoda there in the AlphaTauri, a fellow rookie, is going to be out of the Grand Prix. His engine has given way, and no safety car. Leclerc, by the time we got to the end of the front straightaway, actually was able to get past me, and then I had Sebastian Vettel just breathing down my neck here through the carousel. He actually does not waste any time. He looks to my right hand side, he goes and completes the pass right there. And then, well, we also have the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly just behind myself as well. Tsunoda's of course teammate there in AlphaTauri. So I did not want to be in Gasly's way, so I just pull over right here. I let him go, just have the corner, take it. Gasly and Pierre moves forward now into the now 18th position. But just unbelievably frustrating, because by the time we finally got to Latifi, had a chance, so we had 3 fast cars breathing our neck down, and we had to let them go. So now on lap 11, once again trying to regain that gap to Latifi, and we were sure enough now on lap 12 down into turns 1, closing back up on him, and we were now in P19 once again, unfortunately, here as we came through to lap 14. We were of course getting ready to make our pit stops here within a few laps now, as we get an even larger run on Latifi, this time down into turns 1, not close enough to actually make a move for that 18th position. But I just felt like I was stuck behind him the whole time, and it was all because of sector 3. That was the reason. Now, as you see some drivers coming into the pit lane, including George Russell, as you see up ahead, these faster cars of Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel as well, trying to move forwards, as Mick Schumacher doing a tremendous job right now, having just a great run here today in Spain now, as I'm just continuing to try and work on Latifi. But now on lap 15, Raikkonen, like I said, Russell, they had pitted, they were behind us. Our teammate of Schumacher had come into the pit lane, and then Latifi is going to come in as well. I probably could have came in with Latifi right here, because Schumacher should have been out of his pit box by the time I had gotten to that pit stall, but I decided to wait an extra lap to try and just get as fresh tires as we possibly can. So at the end of lap 16, sure enough, we're going to come down into the pit lane here. Just a one-stop race here, and of course we're going to put on the hard tire. So we come in, get down to pit speed. I gave up a little bit of time right there on entry, but it wasn't a terrible entrance now, as I didn't really know what to expect here, because Latifi, I wanted to be out in front of him when we came out of the pit lane, but of course with him pitting a lap earlier, he's going to definitely be probably 2-3 seconds ahead of us by the time we come out. So we're going to once again have to regain that gap, and there goes Latifi right there. So we're going to be down into 19th place once again, the last car running, and we have a lot of work to do if we want to be able to pass Latifi. We're on lap 17 now, and we still have yet to be able to pass Nicholas Latifi in the Williams, simply because of the same issue lap after lap. We just continuously lose all the time we gain in sector 1 and 2 in that third and final sector. If you maybe have some tips for that third sector for myself here in the Spanish GP at Catalonia, let me know, because I just couldn't figure it out here in F1 2021 so far. So it was so frustrating now as it came through to lap 20, and we were once again working on closing that gap to Latifi, and I was having absolutely no problems actually closing that gap to him here. So it was now less than 2 seconds as we came through to the end of this 20th lap now, as Kimi Raikkonen's actually trying a 2-stop strategy. He had just come in to fit the medium tire, so we're going to gain 1 spot there, move up to P18, and Raikkonen is going to have a little over 10 laps to try and run us down for that 18th spot. So it'll be interesting to see how that 2-stop works out for him. Now as we came through though to lap 22, and now we're getting closer and closer to Latifi, but we've now been given the blue flag because Lewis Hamilton, the leader, is coming up to lap us now here in the Spanish GP, just showing the lack of pace, not only in myself, but especially the car here. We're the slowest car in the field with Haas, and I would move over here, let Lewis Hamilton go by on the DRS straight down towards Sector 3, and he would move on through. Hamilton started off the season with a win in the Bahrain GP, and here he is looking to go back-to-back here for a second win in a row. I'm assuming we haven't had a performance patch yet, because Red Bull should clearly be the fastest right now, but Mercedes right now is dominating in the career mode. So then on lap 24, once again trying to work on running down Latifi. Well, then we got another blue flag for Lewis Hamilton's teammate of Valtteri Bottas coming through behind myself as well. So that was another issue here, as we were trying to close that gap to Latifi, but I really couldn't do that because we're just letting now the front runners go lap after lap, it felt like. So there goes Bottas through. The next guy, of course, was going to be the Red Bull of Max Verstappen within probably 2, 3, maybe 4 laps or so here. And it looks like right now Lewis Hamilton, as we come through to lap 26, is in a commanding lead now over Valtteri Bottas. There you see Verstappen there in P3, and Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin running great in P4. Fernando Alonso in the Alpine 5th place. Perez struggling a little bit in the Red Bull here, P6, and then you got the McLaren duo of Daniel Ricciardo, P7, and his teammate of Lando Norris not far behind at all there in P8. Then we got Esteban Ocon, Fernando's teammate, running P9, and to round out the top 10 you got the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, Vettel, and the Aston Martin, as well as Charles Leclerc there in P11 and P12, all within striking distance of making it into the points. So now we cut through to lap 27, and blue flag comes out again for Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. We were now within a second of Nicholas Latifi, so we're getting closer and closer with not a lot of laps remaining. What a reality check. Like I said, I've said that word a couple times, or that phrase a couple times here today, but it was really a huge reality check for myself in Spain. But right here, Max Verstappen gets both myself and Latifi, and all of a sudden Latifi letting off so much brings me into the mix. Here we are, looking up his left-hand side, not able to do anything right into there now, just a lack of grip and just not a lot of confidence of the car. But now on lap 28 down the front straightaway, we are closer than we have been all day to the back of Latifi. He goes defensive to the right-hand side. I'm going to lunge to the left-hand side, break a little bit later than him. He goes wide, and that pushes me wide as well. Then I'm on the curb. I have to get out of the throttle, so we lose time right there. Latifi back clear of us as we come through the carousel in this first sector now, as we are running out of time to complete this pass. So now we go back to his right-hand side, down into the right-hander, side by side. We're going to push him a little bit wide into the grass even. Now some contact, wheel-to-wheel banging right there as we go into the left-hander, and after all of that, Latifi still out of the next corner is going to remain ahead of us. I don't know what to say at this point. I just couldn't get the power down. It just, the confidence wasn't there. But then you see me make a big lunge there up the left-hand side. Then I let him get clear right here, knowing that this could be our last chance all race long to get past that Williams of Latifi side by side. Once again, I should have used overtake mode right here. I didn't, because I didn't want to drain that battery for the front straightaway. But then right here, out of the sharp left-hander, we just lose that ground and unfortunately cannot complete the pass on Nicholas Latifi in the Williams. Two Canadians scrapping it out here in the back markers area. So very frustrating. That brought, of course, Kimi Räikkönen a little bit closer. But then on lap 29 down the front stretch, just couldn't get close enough to make a move into turns one. We, of course, got within about a car length or so, but that still wasn't enough. Then on lap 30, once again, close, but not close enough to make a lunge up the left right-hand side of Latifi. Räikkönen now 2.5, now 2.2 seconds behind here as we close in on the last few laps. 2 laps to go at this point, now just barely over a second between myself and Räikkönen. I'm just still hovering right behind Nicholas Latifi, but can't quite find the opportunity to get close enough to make a pass or a legitimate battle with him. So now just over half a second between us and Räikkönen, but now as Hamilton starts the final lap, Sergio Perez on the final lap as well is going to be out of the Spanish Grand Prix here as he's going to pull over. An engine failure for him. A rough day for the Red Bull driver and teammate to Max Verstappen. We come through now to start the final lap ourselves, and there was just too much ground between myself and Latifi to get there, and now Räikkönen is within striking distance. He will have DRS here on this final lap now, as I completely forgot that we were a lap down. I'm not used to being a lap down in F1 2021 or any F1 game now, as Lewis Hamilton, sure enough, comes through to pick up the win. So if I would have remembered this was the final lap, I would have really abused the overtake on the ERS on that front straightaway, but I completely forgot. Like I said, it was that last lap. So unfortunately, not close enough to Latifi as we come through this final sector, and we spent probably, 30 laps of this race at least or so, looking at the back gearbox of Nicholas Latifi. It was unbelievably frustrating, but we at least come through the final turn, and we're going to hold off Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo to get in 17th place finish.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Frustrating, of course. We just couldn't do anything in that final sector, and unfortunately we could just never make the pass on Nicholas Latifi, as Fernando Alonso gets driver of the day now, as we have a post-race celebration to watch.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Well, there you have it. Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, your podium. Bottas actually got the fastest lap by a few tenths, it looks like, over Lewis Hamilton, so an extra point to him. Schumacher did a great job all race round. Got P13. Russell did really good as well, 14th there in the Williams. So good to see him, Schumacher and Russell, run well, but frustrating for myself, of course, now, as we have a quick interview with Claire after the race now, as she was just asking, of course, you're breaking all expectations. What's your secret? I really don't think I was breaking any expectations in that race now. And, of course, we did lose to our teammate, and yeah, it was just not our day. I mean, that third and final sector, I just could not figure it out. And it definitely wasn't the cleanest race. We made a little bit of contact with Latifi here and there, but overall, I felt like it was actually a decently clean race now. As we look at the standings at the end of the episode, so Hamilton right now 51 points. He's won both races as well as he has the fastest lap, and he already has a whole race lead after 2 events over his teammate Bottas. Verstappen up there as well in the mix now, as myself and Schumacher still have no points, of course. But next we go to Monaco, one of my favorite tracks on the schedule, but the Spanish GP is one of my favorite tracks as well, so maybe we're going to be terrible in Monaco. Who knows what to expect. They're very excited, though, for those tight streets at Monaco. So if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and of course, would like to say thank you to the Go On Racing members of MJ, Joseph 9001, Timothy Arline, Bubba Jr., Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, AJ Vasura, Russell Dixon, Kenneth Barnett, Dana9302, King Matt XL, as well as Jacob Murray. I appreciate you guys' support so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.